I'm joined now by the mayor of Cleveland, Ohio, Justin Bibb. He's part of a group of Democratic mayors taking part in a Mayor's Stopping Crime initiative. Mayor Bibb, we appreciate your time, but just want your reaction to what you heard from the president today. The president really trying to cast Democrats as the ones fighting this issue, focusing on the economic stimulus package that was signed last year that really put a lot of money in the hands of local and state jurisdictions to do more to fight crime in their communities.
President Biden has the right message. Us as Democrats and especially as mayors, we believe in funding the police. I'm a son of a cop, and I get both sides of this. I understand the importance of police accountability, but also the importance of investing in good quality law enforcement. Just right here in Cleveland, we just negotiated a new contract for our police officers to give them an 11% raise over the next 3 years. But we're also leading the most progressive police reform agenda in America to make sure we can root out police corruption and ensure long-term accountability in our department.
National homicide stats down, I think, 3+% right now. In Cleveland, I read the homicide rate this year alone down close to 11%. So they're good headlines coming out of your community there. But what do you see as the drivers of crime right now? Obviously, coming out of the pandemic, there were moments, and there were a lot of states, frankly, a lot of states and cities with Democratic mayors, Seattle, Washington, San Francisco, that have had real issues with crime. What's driving it?
Well, first and foremost, it's been the proliferation of guns. We've had a state legislature in the state of Ohio that makes it easier to get a gun than get a certificate or training to be a barber in Ohio. That does not make any sense at all. So we need tougher gun laws in our state. We've also seen a dramatic increase in mental health issues since the pandemic. So more funding to support mental health supports will go a long way to truly root out violent crime, not just in Cleveland, but across the nation.
Mayor, as you know well, there are a lot of Republicans who would push back and say, hey, you got to have prosecutors in these communities who are doing more. They're putting people, they're catching folks and then putting them back on the streets right now, and they're not being tough enough on crime in those communities. Is that an issue that you acknowledge needs to be better addressed to help sort of resolve this?
Absolutely. I truly believe in the importance of criminal justice reform and making sure we give folks a second chance. But when you have repeat offenders who have continuous gun violations on their record, they don't belong on our streets. So it's a balancing act. We have to make sure we have smart, sensible criminal justice reform, but also good law enforcement to keep our streets safe.
So what should the Democratic message on crime be right now? You talk to Republicans. We've had some at this table. I was speaking to some ahead of Meet the Press this past weekend, some strategists saying, the issue of the economy and the issue of crime, those are going to be big drivers. What should the Democrats' message be rebutting that?
I would say, as a Democratic Party, we should say we're going to back the blue, but hold them accountable when they step out of line, and know that we're fighting on the front lines in cities like Cleveland and Tulsa and Kansas City to keep our streets safe by investing in things like education, mental health supports, and ensuring that our children have good things to do as they go back to school this year. That's the best way for Democrats to win come this November.
The president's effort today was to sort of parlay the Republican criticism of the FBI's going into Mar-a-Lago, gathering documents, of course, with a search warrant, basically saying if you're calling to defund the FBI, if you're attacking, the FBI, then you can't be pro-cop and you can't be pro-police. Do Americans do they connect those two things? Is the FBI what people are talking about when they're thinking about crime in their communities?
I think the voters of this country are a lot smarter than most politicians these days. They recognize that we need to do a better job of funding and supporting the FBI, but also supporting law enforcement all across this country. And Democrats must continue to take that message to the voters come November.
Walk me through this. You're a Democratic mayor in a red state. You got a Republican governor there. What have you done that has worked and that could be a message from which other mayors, governors could learn from in other states to sort of overcome those differences? Is the message that you're getting from the state governor's mansion the same as the one that you're seeing in your community? Or are you working together, and what's succeeding?
Well, I have to say this. Although Governor DeWine and I don't agree on a lot of issues, we do agree on using every resource we can in this state to fight violent crime. The governor supported our city with investments in our real-time crime center. We've also deployed our state patrol in Cleveland to get nearly 2,000 guns off the street this year. And so we have to work with Republicans and other folks across the aisle to keep our community safe, because that should be our #1 priority.
Is there capital for an assault-style weapons ban? The president said he's going to work on this however long it takes. We had it in the past, and he's focused on making it happen again. You know, in places like Highland Park, Illinois, after the awful shooting that happened there on the 4th of July, they're working on doing things in their own communities. Those things don't work, though, if you can buy a gun in a different state and cross state lines and come right into your backyard and launch a massacre of just awful proportions. So how do communities like yours overcome those when there isn't the capital in Washington to do something further?
Well, we have to do a better job in cities like Cleveland and across this state to use different tools to track down on these high assault weapons that we see in our city and across the state. And the best capital we have should be our political capital. This November, we have the opportunity to elect common sense Democrats to the United States Senate to make sure we can get real legislation done in D.C. to bring real change to cities like Cleveland. And I'll be knocking on doors the rest of the year to make sure that happens come November.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.